Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost, the one true God. Back with you with the next video in my Line of God's Daily Diary series. As usual, before I discuss what I have achieved since yesterday's Daily Diary video, I want to go ahead and read you a chapter from the Bible. Today, I will be continuing with Genesis chapter 13. And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai, unto the place of the altar, which he had made there at the first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. And Lot also, which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle, and the herdmen of Lot's cattle. And the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelled then in the land. And Abram said unto Lot, Let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we be brethren. Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes, and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zoar. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan. And Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other. And Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, Lift up now thine eyes, and look from the place where thou art northward and southward, and eastward and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it, and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. Then Abram removed his tent, and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. You know, the first thing I think of when I read this chapter this time was Abram's kindness. So there's a strife, of course, between the herdmen. So basically the land's not able to bear them, right? So they can't dwell together. So there's a strife between the herdmen of the two of Lot's and Abram's tribes. And Abram says, you pick which side, left or right. And Lot picks the better side for him. Right? He sees and beheld the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So he chooses the plain of Jordan. I just think how fair Abram is. What a kind thing to offer. And then Lot actually takes the better side. He doesn't pretend like he doesn't want the better side. He just takes the better side. So what I think is, firstly, how kind Abram is, and then secondly, not even secondly, just how kind Abram is. Lot could have done whatever. He spoke his mind and took the side that he wanted. Alright. Now, this is the next verse I want to mention here. Genesis 13:13. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. So one thing that we really haven't established by this point in the Bible is what exactly is sin at this point? And you know what I think? Do you know what I think? I think that ultimately one day when Jesus Christ comes back, for example, I'm going to say this. I believe that I'm the Spirit of God. I believe that I am God incarnate as the Spirit of God. And I think to myself that I don't have memory of all of this because I was sent back here as a baby. And as a result of that, I think that I don't know the details of everything. I don't know specifically what happened everywhere. What I believe is this. When it says the first book of Moses called Genesis, it makes me think, did I write these chapters after God gave Moses the commandments? It's just a thought. Is it that, because if you can't even articulate what is sin, see, we know sin at this point because of how God describes sin in the Bible in the form of the commandments. He describes sin. Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not covet, etc. Whatever it is. Firstly, thou shalt have no other gods before me, etc. So what was sin described as in this time before then? I think because it is definitely unclear to me when these chapters were written chronologically, because I believe this. I started with the idea that I don't have memory. Why? Because I believe the author of these chapters is the Spirit of God and or the men who lived in these times as well. But there's certainly, I believe, the Spirit of God having an effect on writing the chapters of the Bible. I do believe that. Of course, we know that. See, the thing is, I don't know the specific details of another thing I thought, right? We know that the Bible teaches how no prophecy from God came other than by way of the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God is the spirit of prophecy. Every prophecy in the Bible comes from God by way of the Spirit of God. Now, the thing is, all these conversations that the Lord has with Noah, with Adam, with Noah, with Abraham, I don't know if that is the Lord directly speaking or it is the Spirit conveying a message. Why do I say that? I say that because not only do I not have living memory, if we look at the passage of Jesus' baptism, there's a voice from the heavens. From the heavens. It says, not the Spirit. The Spirit is descending. The Spirit is taking his own action. He is descending like a dove upon Jesus, lighting upon him. But there's a voice from the heavens, God speaking, saying, this is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. So I have to be careful before I try to take any credit. I'm not trying to take any credit. I'm saying I don't know what exactly who the author of the chapter is, how much influence the Spirit of God is having on the characters here. For example, we know if you think about this, the only places the Spirit of God is mentioned in the initial parts of Genesis are at Genesis 1-2, with the Spirit hovering over the face of the earth, and then when Pharaoh says to Joseph, the son of Jacob, he says, a man in whom the Spirit is. So I don't know what relationship I would have had with Abram, I would have had with Isaac, with Jacob. I only know the passage with Joseph. Do I believe there was a relationship? Yeah, I do. I most certainly do. In the sense that the truth of what is written in the Bible, that every prophecy comes from God by way of the Spirit of God. But it's unclear if every word of dialogue is specifically prophecy, or is it like a voice booming from the heavens, or is it God speaking directly to the character, which is certainly possible. I don't know. No one has encountered something like this in so long that we don't know exactly how it works. What is the only thing that I can go off of is the idea that I probably did have some part in the story outside of just must have been doing something between Genesis 1-2 and Pharaoh saying that the man in whom the Spirit is, regarding Joseph, right? Something must have been going on, but it's very unclear in the sense that, knowing me, I would have been happy not seeking any attention, serving God perfectly, and working. So I don't. It's just kind of a mystery to me, because it's fascinating to me, because it's like the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord. So like I said, we know what sin is because God tells us what sin is, right? Yeah, like God is the one who establishes what sin is, right? Yeah, see, God says that marriage is good. Heterosexual, monogamous marriage is good. We know that. Why? Because Jesus says so. He says so. That male and female become one flesh, and what they have joined together, let not man tear asunder. So we know that is good. Because why? God says it. That's the point. Because it's like, at this moment, if you don't know the commandments, you don't specifically know what these people in Sodom are doing when they're sinning. But because you know the commandments, you're thinking they're lying, thieving, adultering, murderers, coveting their neighbors' wives, having, maybe potentially taking other gods other than Adonai, at that time. And it's like, so you know that in hindsight. But who wrote this, and who put these pieces together? Like, that's the way I think. It's like, I wonder how much effect the Spirit had, especially when you look at these generations. There's no doubt the humans would have tracked their own generations. I just think that it's, again, I couldn't emphasize more. I would rather have less credit now than more, right? So let me be clear with that. I would rather have less than more. Crystal clear, I'd rather have less than more, because it's just fascinating. Like, what is the Spirit doing in all this time? I don't know. Like, is he by Abraham's side? I don't know. So it's just fascinating to me, because like, I wonder how Abram hears the voice of the Lord. Is it by way of the Spirit of God, or is it like a voice from the sky, or is it like something that comes directly to Abram from the Lord, and only the prophecies, like specifically like the prophecies, are by way of the Spirit of God? But in that case, then it seems like the Spirit would be there, right? It's a mystery, and that's the mystery of faith. So with that, I'll go and end the Bible reading there for today, and transition over to what I have achieved since yesterday's Daily Dive video. Since yesterday's Daily Dive video, I worked my software engineering job, and I trained jiu-jitsu. And with no further achievements since yesterday's Daily Dive video, I want to go ahead and say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.